You've started recording? Okay. All right, cool. Wonderful. I don't have the pledge open, but I can try. Just see and open it here. Okay, I've got it. It's wonderful. Again, welcome everyone. Gama, Menzi Maseko for Ikhambi Natural Session. I'm with Nkosi, Nelisiwe, Nkosi. Because you see these Nellies, Nelly Nkosi. With us, she'll be really giving most of the information, sharing a lot about our sexual health, both men and women. The focus is really on the balance on the men and women. So I will just take us through a quick meditation. I like to take off my hat when I do a meditation. And as I'm from I think it's a residue of my Pentecostal upbringing. I can't pray with my hat on unless I'm wearing a turban. So we close our eyes and we just take a deep breath in. Hold it. Then you let go of the breath. You take another deep breath in. As we hold it, we invite our ancestors and our creators to the space. Let go of the breath. Relax your shoulders and you breathe in again. Filling your diaphragm and your chest with the life-giving force of oxygen, the air. Grounding yourself to this moment and allowing the information and the learning and the knowledge to flow through us, through you, and back and in circular motion. Breathe out. You breathe in again with the thought of the importance and the significance of this information. Breathe in. Let the breath go down from our head, from our chest to our head, down to the groin area, down to our legs. Acknowledging, being grateful for the breath of life. Breathe out. And then breathe in again. Breathe out. We're exhaling all the tension, exhaling all the things that have gone before us, and we ground ourselves to this present moment. And we allow the spirit of the Neteru, the one called Het Heru, who I like in Zulu to call Nomhoi, Nobuhle, Nosbagabaga, Nozulu, Nonkomazi. We allow her to channel us to the right frame of mind so that the knowledge that we share here is done with due respect. Breathe in one more time. And we breathe out. Ashe, Ashe. I siyabonga Nkosi. Sure, do the pledge now.
Yes.
Okay. What we do with the pledge, we basically recite it, and I say the first lines. I say the lines, and you repeat them after me. And it's really simple. It's the word, sound, and power that we tell ourselves will guide us to the new Africa, the new world. Remember, I didn't say the word order. I just said the new world, a renewed earth and a renewed heavens, where we know that the words that we say, they are building blocks to our own well-being and the well-being of the world. And we focus a lot on nature, as our name, Ikhambihealing, natural healing goes. So that's what you will hear in these words. We just put them together as a team, as they are not prayers, but they are. It's an affirmation, a pledge to ourselves and to the mother, Father Earth. So it goes, Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
We owe our gifts to nature, our ancestors, and our creators.
We owe our gifts to nature, our ancestors, and our creator.
We live by the principles of Ma'at, Unu, Ubuntu.
We live by the principles of Ma'at, Unu, and Ubuntu.
We will approach each other with respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will approach each other with respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will offer our advice, recommendations, and ideas with trust.
We will offer our advice, recommendation, and ideas with trust.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will share, practice, and promote and raise awareness about natural healing.
We will share, practice, and promote and raise awareness about natural healing.
Healthy lifestyles and well-being.
Healthy lifestyles and well-being.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information and falsehood.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information and falsehoods.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Our gifts are a gift to nature and to humanity.
Our gifts are a gift to nature and humanity.
We will give back to nature what she has abundantly given us.
We will give back to nature what she has abundantly given to us.
Amaku. Siyathokoza. So inkundla isivulekile. The platform is open. And Nkosi will take us through, and we will have the conversation and have some time for questions, comments, and responses.
Okay. As mentioned a bit earlier on in the session, Wanga is having power cut, and therefore she will not be joining us today, but we will be hosting a pre-recorded session with her during the week. And anybody who wants to join that pre-recorded session, which usually happens in the evening, please do drop us your email address so that we can include you in the meeting invite. We hope that we will have an interactive discussion today, as well as during that pre-recorded session. But this session is merely just to lay down the foundation of some of the things that we wanted to highlight in terms of sexual health, because as we were planning with Wanga, one of the things that we actually realized was that when we speak about sexual health, it's really a broad concept, and we usually think that it's just taking care of your genitalia and then that's it, you know. However, we moved on and we realized that, well, actually that's not it, you know. It goes deeper than that, and we were trying to limit some of the stuff because we only have like so much time provided. So we were trying to see, how do we then educate people, or how do we then learn with each other within the short space of time provided. So the first concept that we wanted to highlight, or rather as Ikhambi wanted to share, it was that the difference between like making people understand the fact that sexual health and holistic health within your body is not something which is isolated. And a lot of the times we make a mistake of thinking that, no, sexual health ilapha, and then holistic health ilapha, you know, and which is something that is incorrect, you know. I don't know if Menzi, you want to add in terms of that, in terms of elaborating to people that when this one is not okay, chances are this one is also not okay. Your entire body is not okay.
Yes. As you were talking, I was going to say, it's not just about the yoni. I hear, you know, these days, there's a lot of yoni steaming and all that, but and maybe I'm speaking subjectively as a man. even Nati. I think we raised this the other week when we were speaking about sexuality and some of the issues. We had planned to speak about the joys of sex and intimacy, but we ended up having to touch on the issues that we have to do with issues such as abuse, such as sexual assault. We had to deal with those things so that we can help each other navigate ourselves around those and return back to health. So you are 100% correct that we cannot speak about the joys without first cutting through the pain and finding the other sources besides, because the sources of the pain are not even the sources of abuse. They're not actually at the spot where the abuse is happening in terms of anatomy. The sources may be in the mind. They may be in the environment, how we are raised. They may be in the kind of food we are eating. What kind of stimulation does the food that we grow up eating make? Like, for example, I'll make a quick example. A lot of us grow up eating amakota, which is basically a lot of junk food, a lot of potatoes filled with oil. Maybe sometimes the oil is 3 days old, and there's a whole lot of sauces that we don't know what are kamgapi. Don't know where those sauces are from. There's polony. We don't even know what polony actually is. There's all these things inside the one meal. And some of us, if you are like me from the township, you'll find that we ate that every day as teenagers, sometimes even from age 10, all the way up to age 20, some of us. Some are still doing it right now, So all that kind of stuff does something to your, I'm not saying right once in a while now, I mean, people are people. I'm not here, it's not a judgment. I'm just saying that the things that we eat, the things that we consume with our eyes, the things that we consume into our brain, it has, inomthelela kakhulu emzimbeni wethu in everything that in the way that we live. So holistic healing really is about looking at all those things, not just targeting the penis or targeting the yoni. I want, please remind me of this, Nkosi. Later on, I want to speak, because I want to do a roundup about the name Heru. I mean, not Heru, Het Heru, which is the goddess that governs the season. I wanted to speak about why she is called Inkomas, but we for the end.
Okay. So one of the so I'm just going to highlight some of the most common disorders that may make your sexual, like that may affect your what's this that are an indicator that your sexual health is not really that good. One of them would be, for men, it would be ED, with the full name would be erectile dysfunction, impotency, as well as low libido. And for women, it might be pains during sex. This may be caused either due to an underlying sexually transmitted disease, or it may be because of the scientists refer to it as the princess syndrome. This is when there's nothing wrong with your vagina, but it's more of a mental thing or a mental disorder where your vagina is like just decides to not allow a penis to come in, and it just constricts, because the vagina is at the end of the day a muscle, and then it will sometimes not expand to allow a penis to enter. So that's that. It's called the princess syndrome, and it's more of a mental health issue rather than a genitalia issue. Some of the causes, some of the other causes that would make these disorders occur, it would be diabetes, high blood pressure, heart conditions, stress, dehydration, obesity. And so whenever from what I'm learning is that, because we're continuously learning, is that sometimes when there's something wrong down there, it's an indication that there's something wrong somewhere else. And how I'm seeing is that it's very rare that when you treat your penis or your vagina in isolation, you're really like putting salve or ointment on top of a wound that already has passed without actually cleaning out the pus out. It doesn't. Menzi, do you want to add?
No, you're on point. It's very clear. It's about, we are trying to deal with the sources, the causes of the illness, or of the blockage, so to speak. You were speaking about some women. I think sometimes, please excuse me. This is why this conversation is PG. And some may have a lot of dryness, but some people may have a lot of wetness. I've experienced, just from experience, some women are actually very uncomfortable with their wetness. There must be, there's a reason. Sometimes it's not actually an illness at all. To some it's wonderful, it's great, that I can get wet like that. But for some, it's embarrassing. I've experienced that some women find it quite embarrassing when they get too wet. So maybe we may touch on something like that. Some may have an issue of maybe getting aroused too quickly. I'm not ready, but my, I've heard someone say, oh, my vagina is betraying me. I did not want to show. I did not want it to show that I'm even like maybe partially aroused. I don't want it to show, but my body is betraying me. It's showing not symptoms per se. It's just showing that I'm more aroused than I actually feel that I am. So it's all about creating that balance between the body, the mind, the physiology, and the psychology, right? So Nkosi also touched on something, not just psychological. I think she was quoting Coco Dineo when she was speaking about the issue of spiritually transmitted diseases. There are some illnesses or some conditions, because it's not always disease. It's just sometimes just a condition which you can unlearn or you can remedy somehow, either through herbs or through a psychosomatic way, some kind of psychological way, mantra, or other ways that we're going to discuss today. There are spiritually transmittable conditions. So maybe Nkosi will touch on that. And I know she's going to be touching on some yoga or some exercise positions, things that you can do to actually get. I don't know if I'm lumping out a lot of, giving a lot of things all at once, but I'm reminded of what you're saying.
Yeah, so I've lost video feed, but I'm still here.
Oh. Okay.
I only lost it. I just lost the video feed. My camera overheated. So
you can continue.
Yeah, okay. So one of the aspects that I actually wanted us to actually look into was understanding was the sexual health in the context of the mind. When you're stressed, you won't be able to think about, because cortisol and the other, the love hormones that are released during sex, they can't exist.
Pheromones.
Yeah, they can't exist in the same space, like in the same space. Stress hormones and love hormones, they cannot exist in the same space. So therefore, your body would either shut the other one out. And stress, based on my understanding, also triggers some other diseases. If you're stressed, chances are you'll have anxiety. And if you're stressed, chances are you'll have if you are a person who is has some other underlying mental health issues, it will trigger some of those mental health issues. And if you're stressed, how do you then be in that moment? Because when you think about it, for you to be able to enjoy sex to its fullest, you need to be there, present, mind, body, and soul, like be there. And if you're not fully there and you are stressed about, iskul fees sengane, ini, umsebenzini kwenzakala lokhu, ibond ngizoyibhadala kanjani, nani, and probably other stressful stuff, it will not be there. And this is the catch-22 when it comes to stress being a problem when it comes to sexual health, is that for men, it triggers, it makes them, it gives them an erectile dysfunction. However, once a man gets an erectile dysfunction, then that on its own causes another stress on top of the already existing stress. Because until recently, I actually realized that when a man has an erectile dysfunction, it goes beyond just the physical problem. It affects their ego, or their confidence
Absolutely.
level.
Of course. Yeah, I'm saying absolutely. Let's continue.
Whereas with women, it's quite different, like when you don't get aroused, you just buy, or you don't get wet, or you just buy those lubricants, and life goes on. It has nothing to, it doesn't say anything about you, whether you're a good lover or you're not a good lover.
Yeah. So I think also as men, we are a little bit ego driven rather than, I'm not saying we're not intimate. Of course, the intimacy is there. We have this feelings like everybody else. But I think when you touch on the issues of erectile dysfunction, it's actually, it's really, you've touched on it. You said, there are issues of, like, let's say you are having maybe financial problems, or even if you have some father issues. I listened to a psychologist speaking about how issues that we've had with our fathers can actually be a cause for even erectile dysfunction. I was shocked to hear that, because I thought, what is the relationship between my father and my penis? I mean, there shouldn't be anything, but apparently there is, so yeah, those are the things. So as you're saying, I mean,
expand on that, Nkosi, because it's quite
buy
interesting.
things sort of.
Am I the one who lost the feed, or did Mkulu lose a connection?
Did you hear my question?
No, I lost. You froze there for a bit. Am I the only one who experienced that? Can you?
No, I thought it was me also on my side. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It froze a bit.
But can you hear me now?
We can hear
Yes,
you.
yeah, we hear you now.
Okay, I was asking, what is it that one can do then? I was saying that the conversation today it will focus a lot on women. I would say maybe 70% on women. But can we just start with that part of it? When I have erectile dysfunction, what is the thing what can I do as a man? Is there something I can eat? Are there some certain exercises that you can recommend? What do men who have erectile dysfunction, what do they have to do? Since you cannot change your past and you can't change I'm not sure if it's usually psychological, financial issues, because as you said, I was saying also that men are ego driven. That is why my situation at work can affect my situation in bed, or my situation with my ego, or my situation with how I feel about myself can also affect the way I perform
So basically, based on my understanding, because since we decided to do the session, I think we decided to do the session 3 months back, and since having started then, I knew a lot. I'm a woman, so I knew a lot in terms of sexual health for women, but one topic that I didn't actually quite understand was men's sexual health, and I dedicated quite some time in terms of researching and understanding male sexual health. So based on my understanding, and based on the research data and the people the experts that I've spoken to, is that whenever a man has an erectile dysfunction, it usually is a marker, like it's a health marker. It's supposed to alert you that there's something wrong somewhere else. It's a symptom of a much bigger problem. The problem is not down there in the penis. The problems, it could be, but more likely than not, the problem is with, what's this, somewhere else. So some men that actually experience erectile dysfunction, you might find that they probably are suffering from high cholesterol levels, and so therefore their arteries are clogged. And we all know that the penis is blood flow, It's like it's blood flow, blood goes into the penis, and then there's a clog that actually blocks the blood from coming out until you ejaculate. The scientists probably have a name for that system, but then yeah, but that's how it works. So it may also be that you have high blood pressure, or you have diabetes. We've all had the saying that with no sugar. It's actually true. When you have diabetes, the chances of having like a firm erection, like sometimes maybe hindered if you're not taking care of your health. I don't even want to say taking care of your health properly, but if it is a contributor towards erectile dysfunction, and things like your obesity as well. So the penis is a muscle, and if you are obese, and it sometimes the belly, especially with the belly fat. So everybody, men and women have testosterone, and men and women have estrogen, and how that then affects from an obesity perspective. We forgot to do the disclaimer. The information that we share is for educational purposes only, and is not meant to replace advice of a medical doctor. Should you have inquiries, please do contact your health practitioners to get proper advice. And this is just purely for educational purposes and not meant to replace any of that advice. So anyway, let's continue now that we've gotten the legal before Basu Avant. So men and women have estrogen, and men and women have testosterone. The levels, however, within men and women varies. So what then happens is that men, what contributors into having like a healthy erection would be your levels of testosterone. What then happens if you've got a lot of belly fat is that testosterone then it mixes with other chemicals and then increases your estrogen levels, and therefore affects your erection when it comes to obesity. So can you imagine that you will be treating the penis, where else the problem is not the penis, the problem is somewhere else.
I get you. So are the foods, I saw there's a chart that we created, are the kind of foods that you can eat that make it better, besides just doing sit-ups? Or must I just do sit-ups?
So when we think about holistic health, diet is something that if we want to have a good sexual health, you also need to have good holistic health within your body. So your diet, whenever we speak about holistic health, before we can speak about remedial herbs, we always touch on your daily behaviors and your lifestyle, and that would include your diet. Nkulu, can you please bring up the what's this? The on food, yes, to take into account just to.
I've just realized, Gogo, that because the computer switched off, I cannot share the chart right now. Maybe if you can bring it up.
I can share my side, it's fine. I can share my side.
Are there any questions in the meanwhile? Any questions, any pressing things that people want to know about? Maybe for now. We'll have another Q&A later. But is there any comments, things that people would like really burning questions, things that people would like to speak about with regards to this? As Nkosi is about to share, you can unmute yourself and speak. Feel free, as usual. Or not really. Okay. No one has anything.
Yeah, I don't really have a question per se, but especially when it comes to male health, because I think I've never really taken it into consideration, because I feel like it's a very touchy topic when you're within a relationship to talk about those things. But another thing that I wanted to raise generally is that we must also be aware of, I like it when Nkosi, she spoke about your mental health. Sometimes it can also be compatibility. We're so quick to be attracted to people at a specific phase, and then some things you run out of it with time, right? And another thing that I've realized also sexually was the sense of understanding one's body, especially men and women within a relationship, because men have this conception that a healthy sex life is penetration, that they actually forget that there's so much other forms of sex. You know, there's so much other forms of making a girl reach a specific phase or whatever the case might be. So I think as much as people would generally have this assumption of mental health, I think it's also, you should also sit down with your partner and have the conversation of compatibility and having the uncomfortable discussions of what makes it okay. Because sometimes men might have a problem. It's not the problem of, oh, I've got stress, I've got this. Sometimes it could be generally a consistent thing of not being pleasured enough. Then you end up getting bored of the same thing, if I can put it that way. So I think it's just beyond mental health. I think people must also have the realization that compatibility goes a long way sexually.
No, I have to add to that, Gogo. I thank you for raising that, because the greatest mystery, I think, I will just speak for African men. I don't know anything about European men and Indian men and others. I will just speak for African men. The greatest mystery is the mystery of intimacy. We are, I think it's because also of socialization. Baba Buntu has a lot to say about this. There's a whole different kinds of lectures where he teaches about, you know, how our colonial situation also created a situation whereby we know Africa has been, excuse me, I'm going to use that word, Africa has been raped, you know, Africa has been penetrated unwillingly for so many years, that there are so many things within the African context that, and African men follow up to Africa's rape is African men's emasculation. We've been emasculated so much that we really think things like sex are only about penetration. So that removes the intimacy that we actually once had. If you look at the songs, the Zulu, I'll speak as a Zulu, even though I'm Swazi, I grew up as a Zulu. And there's this thing, there are certain songs that I hear coming up now, especially from Mbabu Mbusokos, where you hear about men's intimacy in a very different way than what we have been taught, either through the church or through the mainstream socialization. We actually have a very deeply intimate side, which goes beyond just putting it in or having a firm erection. So these songs teach us about touch. There are even rituals that teach us about how to touch a woman, how to, you know, even beginning with yourself. I think we spoke about it the other week. How to be, I think Kelly raised it a lot. Kelly, you have to be able to love yourself and accept yourself and be intimate with yourself before you can have full intimacy with another. So that issue of intimacy is a mystery. It's kind of like what's the word when you don't see something, like a blind spot? It's like a blind spot. I want to have pleasure, but I feel like the only pleasure I can get is through penetration and coming. But there's so much more that's supposed to go on. It's not even about foreplay. It's about the whole day. What's on your mind the whole day? You know, what can you do between Monday and Wednesday, which is sexual without actually fucking. Excuse my British. But, you know, what are the ways? You can go and go.
Yeah, it's called mind sex, Umkulu. It's called mind sex. Without touching, but generally the language of it.
We don't know the language.
No, and I like the fact that you raised something in terms of when you mentioned compatibility. It just reminded me of a study while I was actually learning about men's sexual health. Because for me, it's a new terrain. You know? I'm like, wow. So one of the things that they said that contributes in terms of sexual attraction was actually your DNA, your actual physical DNA. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we forget that we are still part of the animal kingdom. So how the animal kingdom, how it would work is that you attract, in the animal kingdom, is that you attract a spouse based on whether or not you'll be able to produce healthy offsprings. So the humans also work that way. Apparently, this is based on the study that was conducted, the experiment that was conducted, is that the pheromones that you produce as a male or as a female, as a man actually, attract the women towards a certain type of women towards you, because based on their DNA composition and based on your DNA composition, you will be able to produce healthy offsprings. And for me, it was like, so you know that guy what's ubumthanda esithombeni and what must umbona was, no, girl, there was nothing wrong with you. Chances are it might have been that when your primate instincts kicked in and they saw good, no, neg, and umkhulu umakhanya kude, ne. I don't know if you know him, Mkhulu. He usually features kakhulu Afro-Save. He once mentioned this, which sometimes even your own ancestors play a role, and there would be like when you see somebody from a compatibility perspective, when you see somebody and then your ancestors would be like, not this one. Not to this one. No, maybe the way that he said about it, what like your ancestors just saw, his path and your path, they don't really gel, or participate or or what. It could be a number of issues why your ancestors would not want you to be with that person. And there's also this growing concept that people actually want to know more about. There's also that, when you touched on compatibility, I was like, a lot of things just went to my mind. Yeah. Do you maybe want to end before I start speaking on the dietary stuff? Or is there somebody else who wants to add?
I just wanted to piggyback right when you spoke about pheromones. That, when I used to be in this relationship where you used to fuck like rabbits, and have had different relationships, and we've actually never understood why in this specific relationship you fuck like rabbits and the other one you don't. And you were right when you're talking about pheromones, because that's the attraction. Other people actually take out that in you if they have high pheromones where you get attracted to that person consistently and every day. And you end up just feeling like your relationship is sexually based, but it's not just only sexually based, but it's actually the attraction and the compatibility, even with the high pheromones. And I think that's the one thing that we also need to be aware of, just understanding. I like when you touched the thing that abanye abantu bakhethiwe and abanye abantu abaphansi, they just don't like it. There's so much more. I like the fact when you started this conversation, you said holistic, meaning there's just so much more in the human nature that governs our sex. It's not just only a experience of existence, of not just giving birth to children or recreation, but it's that, I'm sorry to do the reference of the Bible, but it's that Adam and Eve thing. It's that synergy and that syncness that happens holistically, sexually. And I think that's what makes relationship last long. Sometimes we saba, well, people have been married for 45 years because they got into the right, if I don't want a relationship, but they are compatible in every sense of it holistically, they can push through it. Because the one thing that people are suffering with, especially in Tangazetu in our 30s, it's the fact that we jump into being in relationships, but we forget that 1 month and then you don't ask yourself holistically what is happening. Is it the food? Is it attraction? Is this the pheromones? Is it this? We don't really look into it that way. Like this sexual topic or education is actually quite good, because we need to think of it in an umbrella form of enjoying ourselves, like Menzi says, that the passion, the touch without the touch, the sex without the penetration, the mind, So that's all I wanted to say. I'm not going to say anymore, guys. Thank you.
When you said that it's good 1 month and you have not had intercourse with your partner, or have any like intimacy, because we need to be honest. Sometimes you just need to be cuddled, and that's a part of a good sexual health, you know, intimacy, being intimate with your partner, being touched, being being caressed, you know, you know. But without the actual, sometimes you just want that, you know, without wanting the actual penetration. And when you said that, I just remembered a wedding song. Angas no moments was like kumbulana makoti womnyagazis umalele womnyagazis.
Yes, yes.
Our elders, our elders.
Let me tell you.
They knew the secrets.
Now that you are reminding me of songs, you are going back to what I said already about the fact that somehow the situation, our so-called colonial situation, the way we live within the African colonies, has disrupted a lot how we are as African men. We are actually very intimate beings. You are mentioning a wedding song, which is still alive till today. That song are the kind of songs that are sung also in initiation spaces where people go and spend time with older ladies. Young girls spend time with older ladies, including Okoko, who will teach you things about sex which have so much more. You'll find that penetration is only 20% of the lesson. 80% of the lesson is about how to really treat your man. Beyond, before you even get to the love mat, there are things that can be done before you even get to the love mat, you know? And you find that all those things are sexual, but it's only 20% that is, or even 10% that has got to do with penetration. So those things are very important. And it's important for us to unlearn certain colonial and religious conditioning. And it's not just Christian religion. Different kinds of religion have, you know, this whole thing of the unbalancing of the masculine and the feminine, whereby a woman has certain roles. And, you know, you find that woman by nature, she's basically tired of those roles. She may think she enjoys them, but her spirit is like, okay, I enjoy doing 1, 2, or 3, but I also want to be spontaneous and do something else. How come he's the only one that's able to do certain things and I can't do those certain things? So it's important for us to unlearn, to decolonize our mind, even sexually, decolonize our mind sexually, and also Africanize our minds on a sexual level. So yeah, but without saying too much, can you go? You can continue from the
before we go there, there's something that you just mentioned, which I think is very key and very critical. So when you spoke about in terms of relations, you know, in sexual health, I think that's the one aspect that we didn't touch on in terms of how you relate with people and how it affects your sexual health, you know. And imagine meeting somebody who's a flirt, you know, and you go out, let's say your partner is a flirt. Like generally that's how they communicate. Communicate and you know what, it affects you it affects you. Some men would be, depending on how comfortable you are with your person or how you engage with your partner, some men would feel a bit jealous of that, and that would affect their desire to actually be intimate with you. And can you imagine that a man who wakes up and go 4 abuye and go 10, and then he does everything to make sure that you are happy within the household in terms of there's food, there's anything that you need or may desire, that is the and then at the end of the day that he does not feel that sense of appreciation for all his efforts. That in its own has contributes towards the desire for a person to have be intimate with you. And I'm also thinking of it not just from a male's perspective. You also, as a woman, you've been to work, you're tired and whatnot, and here is now your partner wanting you to clean. At some point, you feel drained and run down, and you feel like besides unsexy when I'm cool, some men, they would say, no, I need a wife. And where else, what they really mean is that I need a maid, you know, that's what they really need. They need a maid, you know. And even another way your partner communicates with you, because very early on in our relationship, me and my partner made a decision that regardless of how upset you are, we will approach each other from a place of respect. We will not say this, we will not say this. These are the ground rules, you know. And are we really having those conversations? Because when you, as you said a bit earlier on, Guti, one of the key contributors towards male sexual drive comes from a place of ego or power or being in a place of authority, you know. And imagine having a woman who's constantly disrespecting you, undermining you, and ukhuluma nawe ngathi uyehlike esihlahleni, ongathi ukhuluma even nengane. I don't want to even say ukuthi ungathi ukhuluma nengane, because we should also respect our children. If we want them to respect us, ukhuluma nje angazi ngathi ukhuluma nani, you know. That for me, yeah, that's one of the things that I think we haven't touched on that since the beginning, in terms of key contributors to the lack of a good healthy sexuality. So I wanted to share some of the key foods that we need to take into account when we think about our sexual health or promoting healthy living, you know. If everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
We see too much of your screen. We just want to see the center.
I think, wait, just give me a second. Okay, I lost video feed again.
You're there.
No, I'm frozen.
Or your face is, but not the chart.
Okay, so are you able to see this?
We can see the chart.
Okay, so one of the key contributors to what you need to consider when you think about healthy sexual health is hydration, water. The deed requires a lot of there's a lot of fluids going on there. Sperms require fluid. Your vagina requires a lot of fluid, and if your own body is not hydrated, how are the fluids going to be produced? Just a question, you know. So I just wanted to put in some of this. So you must always think greens, your reds, and your omega-3 fatty acids. And avocado, that I'm so glad that we have Sister Deboho here today, because she touched on avocado. When I learned about avocado, I was like, avocado promotes lubrication in women. Yes, if you've got an unhappy dry vagina, consider taking the avocado. And I know that men, avocado, does it not increase sperm count? Kulu, please.
It does. It does. But also the thing of the beauty of avocado for me is that you do not only take it, orally, you don't only eat it. There's so many ways that you can use avocado, even topically, you know. Well, avocado is just good for so much, but I don't even want to dwell on it. Avocado for me is like cannabis, or moringa, you know. There are elements of it which are also like an aphrodisiac, depending on how you eat your avocado and what else you are adding to your avocado, you know. So I remember we grew up at home eating, which I felt was weird. In the whole area where I lived, we were the only house that ate avocado with sugar and sometimes with spices, other spices besides salt. But when I grew up into my own household, I started eating avocado by itself without anything else. And
it's nice.
I found it weird. Why on earth were we eating it with sugar? You were spoiling the avocado. But then I read somewhere else in an Indian sex book. Yes, I was reading an Indian sex book. Don't ask me why. I was reading.
Is it the art of Kama Sutra?
It wasn't Kama Sutra, it was something. Yeah, but they said that if you add a little bit of brown sugar to the avocado while you are actually having sex or just before, it actually increases your drive. A little bit of sugar in the avocado. I was like,
That's interesting.
So I wonder why my mother gave us sugar in the avocado. I must sit her down and have a conversation.
You've got a lot of asks. You have a lot of questions to ask her.
I have a lot of questions to ask the woman.
So there's a recipe that I want to share with people based on one of the fruits that I've displayed here. So a watermelon. Wow, this one I was like, guys. So you can either take this recipe, you can either do it daily, or you can just decide which this is the tonic that you are going to use for like a week. And in terms of your your sex drive, it increases your libido and your desire to have sex and you know. So you take watermelon and then you only cut out the green parts. So you see that a watermelon has 3 layers. It has the red part, it has the white part, and then it has the green part. You only cut out the green part, you leave the white part there. And then you take lemon, and then on the lemon, you only cut out the skin, leaving the white part there. I don't know if everybody can understand. So the lemon also has 3 layers. It's the lemon inside, and then there's the layer of white, and then there's a layer of yellow, or depending on the type of way the lemon is in terms of ripeness. There's another outer layer. So you only cut out that outer layer, and then you remove all the seeds. You don't need the seeds for the purposes of this recipe. You remove all the seeds. On the lemon, when you remove the seeds, you only remove the black seeds. You don't remove the white seeds. You only remove the white seeds, and then you blend it all together with the lemon and the watermelon. You blend it all together. You can drink this twice a day. If you are on like you want to increase your libido, and you are like you've set some time frame for yourself, and maybe you say a week or 3 days you're going to drink this tonic. You can drink 2 glasses for that duration, and then you can write to us and tell us what happened. Comment section.
You can inbox us. We won't tell nobody. Anissa is asking for the recipe to be emailed. So I think we should email the chart and email the recipe. Coco, can you please also move on to the slides about the positions, because our time is really going, unfortunately. We have very little time left. But can you just speak about the asanas, not asanas, the physical exercises that are needed for these kinds of, for sexual health?
Okay, so exercise in general, like taking a walk, and like doing exercise, it helps in terms of your sexual health. This is me saying exercise in general helps in terms of your sexual health. However, there are a few yoga positions that you can do. This is looking at it without your Kegel exercises, which are very, very important as well. Menzi, did you know that men are supposed to do their own Kegel muscles to improve the strength of their penis?
To do what?
Your Kegel exercises, like
Kegel for men.
Yes. So what you
Yes,
do,
yes.
so you know, it's the same as with women. You pee. You see, you pee even though you don't have pee, and then you hold it.
Oh, okay. Yes, I get. I do. I know that. I know what you mean.
And then you hold it. So yeah, exercise in general is just good for you. And then this is what's this? Wait. So this is a yoga position that you can use to. This is just to improve blood flow in the pelvic area for both men and women, to just improve blood circulation and this is another exercise that you might yoga position that you might want to do. Please do bear in mind that not everybody will be able to do these positions. If you are pregnant, it might be that you will not be able to achieve some of these positions. And this one, so for this one, if you're pregnant, just put your legs against the wall. It's enough. It will improve your blood. You don't have to uzupagamise your whole pelvic area with your hands. And then this is another position that you would want to consider. And then this is another one. So this one is called the fish pose. You can do it with straight legs, or you can do it with crossed legs. And this is depending on where you are in terms of your stretching your body. Yeah, no. Besides local, not everybody can achieve the cross-legged one.
Okay, yes. It taxes the back even more. I know it. It's harder on the back. But I would recommend that someone does this at least 3 times a week, these kinds of exercises. I do them probably 4 times a week, but I recommend 3 times a week. It's good not just for your sexual, the brain area or your sexual health, but it's also good for your brain, just brain flow. During exam time or when I'm doing something that's really mentally taxing for that week, I make sure that I do these exercises in the morning.
Thank you, Mkhulu. I just wanted to see what's on the chat.
On the chat?
Okay, no. I thought there was questions, but it's not questions. So some of the remedies that you can use, ashwagandha. So you can find the essential oils from any pharmacy. Ashwagandha essential oils, you can find them from any pharmacy. So what ashwagandha does, it increases testosterone levels and boosts the quality of your sperm as well as fertility. Because sex is an exercise on its own, it also increases muscle mass and reduces fat, and increases strength in men. It helps reduce cholesterol as well. However, if you've got an autoimmune disease, do not use ashwagandha. This is thyroidism, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. There's a number of autoimmune illnesses that I can think of, but if you've got an autoimmune disease, please do not use ashwagandha.
I'd like to know the name, the African name for this ashwagandha.
It's not from Africa. It's
from India.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
So there wouldn't be one.
Okay, we'll see. Hey, Africa will surprise you.
You can invent one.
Yeah, we'll invent one. That's what we do. All right, continue.
So iputu, also known as bulbine natalensis. I'm not even going to do that. Iputu. I grew up knowing this as iputu. So, huh?
It's not iputu. It's the one from.
It's a Zulu name. This one is a Zulu name. Iputu.
Okay. I know it. I see it. It's very bitter. It's very good for a lot of things. But continue.
So the part that you use, so this plant is besides being good for sexual health, it's also good at treating mosquito bites, generally very good for your skin. However, the part that you use you use the stem, which is I'm not sure if everybody can see my cursor, is this part, the stem. So the stem is, it increases muscle mass, it increases sexual stamina, and is also a natural aphrodisiac, and it also improves fertility. So, however, if you are gonna have surgery, please do not use this because it thins the blood as well, because it improves blood flow. So it thins the blood as well, and it might affect your clotting agents. So if you're going to go into surgery, you need your clotting agents to be at their optimum so that you are able to heal better and heal faster. Please do not use this if you will be undergoing surgery.
And please do mention that it tastes quite terribly if you take it directly. But it's also not a. Udor is asking whether it is aloe. It's a kind of aloe, but it's a kind of aloe without the. It's not the aloe with the very. People do it's aloe because in Xaba, what we call aloe is in Xaba, which has a very thick. The leaves that you see there are thinner than the aloe leaves, and they don't have the thorns. The aloe, what is called aloe vera or aloe, is got thorns usually on the sides or thorns at the pointy part. I think this one might have too, but the leaves are much thinner, and this tastes, in my estimation, 5 times worse than aloe. I can break a little aloe stem and taste it, even though it's hard, it's bitter. But this one, it's like it goes to the head directly. And I must add, there are some people using it, they dry it and they mix it with the, what's this white muti? Umkhuluzola gave me this white muti recently. It's like a white, it's a very famous name, man. What's it called? It causes you to be attractive. Yeah?
Oh, okay. I see which plant
it's white. It causes even like they say it brings good luck and attraction and blah 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 blah. But it kind of you drink it in the morning with water. You just like a teaspoonful. You cut it into your cup of water and drink it with like half a glass of water. It can either cause you a running stomach, or you can use it in many different ways. But they mix this with that. I'll remember the name soon, and then I'll post it on the group. They mix it with this and they dry it, and then they use it for as an aphrodisiac, or as it's kind of like a Viagra. I found this out about 2 or 3 weeks ago, by the way.
You know, at some point when you said I thought about impeso, and then I just kicked myself right now for not adding impeso on the list.
Impeso?
Yes. Mpesu. Okay, it's from Limpopo, the northern region of South Africa. Okay. It enhances a men's sexual drive, and it also it enhances your penis. It's like a natural. What's this? It makes your penis a bit bigger in some way.
Okay. All right. All right. No comment. Continue.
So this one is from the Middle East, saffron. They usually call it saffron there. It's only outside of the Middle East where you'd call it the saffron. But in the Middle East, they refer to it as saffron. It's a natural aphrodisiac as well for both men and women. So you can use it as a, as a flavorant to your food and like juice. Funny enough, I found this in Pick n Pay the other day, and I was so shocked. They're selling this at Pick n Pay, and the quality is actually quite good. And I was like, oh, okay, it's actually quite accessible, the plant. But you can also find it in any of the chemists, the herbal chemists. So if you are usually you are supposed to use like 5 grams is a lot, like 1 or 2 grams is enough for you to use it. 5 grams is maybe a bit toxic, and pregnant women should avoid this as it may flush out the pregnancy. You might have a miscarriage. This also goes for clove. Clove is also another good aphrodisiac, but if you're pregnant, you can't use clove because it will flush out the pregnancy. Just don't use it.
All right, cool. Moving on. Nightmare.
Yes, nutmeg. So I'm not sure about men, but I know for women, this enhances sex drive and performance, improves your mood, improves blood sugar control and your heart health, you know. So large amounts may cause hallucinations. So please don't. Usually this is some people nutmeg, and it's usually used in desserts most of the time. Or some people, they usually add this. I saw when I was in the Middle East, rice yakhona ayiphelelanga uma bangayifakanga nutmeg, like, and if you're allergic, so if you're allergic to nuts, please don't.
It's super high concentrated. It's very, very strong, but it's also delicious.
Yes. So some of the side effects that you may experience if you've taken too much of this, if you take it in large doses, what you would then experience is a heartbeat, nausea, disorientation, vomiting, and agitation, besides the hallucination. So just make sure that you don't take it in large quantities. You know, sometimes a pinch is enough. Yes. Are there any questions?
Or comments?
Oh, no. There's somebody who added something quite nice. Anita said, pineapple juice is also great. Sperm will taste good as well as a vagina will smell sweet. You know, Anita, I just remembered fenugreek. Fenugreek is also another, it's usually the seeds, you know, that's something that you can use to actually make your vagina smell good. It makes your vagina smell like or taste like maple syrup. But the problem is that it's not just your vagina that's going to smell or taste like maple syrup. Also, your your sweat. So if you're not a fan of maple syrup, don't. So you can buy fenugreek supplements as well, just to, if you want to smell and taste like maple syrup.
Interesting. This is some adult talk for real. And I wanted to add, like, I just like pineapples. That's all I wanted to add. I like pineapples and just. I did not know they had all those properties, but it makes sense because pineapple can make the whole fridge smell great. So why not you? Can do the same thing to you. Can I just add one thing, like as we're going towards the conclusion? I like this thing going back to the neter, or the life force, or the natural power, or the deity that we are venerating, or that we are observing this month. We already spoken about the fact that last year we spoke, the title was Cultivating Natural Joy. And we spoke about a lot of things. I think Nkulu Zola and someone else was here. But the whole point of it was quite the fact that all these things are about us teaching ourselves how to enjoy life to the full, because really in this body, in this particular body that we have now, all we have is one life in this particular body. You may have another body in your second coming, or your third, fourth, fifth coming, but it's important to cultivate this joy right now. So the Heteru, the goddess that is we are observing this month, has a lot to do with music. And music is part of, I would say, the medication. It's not just for enjoyment, but you can also really use music properly as a form of, like if you listen to the right music, or you choose your music wisely, and especially music that you listen to before you sleep, or the music that you listen to first thing when you wake up. I've begun to do that a lot, to be very, what's the word? Observant of what I listen to when I sleep. So I'm a person who watches movies. I only have time to watch movies at night. So when I watch a movie, but even if I finish the movie, I I try now not to just fall asleep watching a movie. If it happens, I must wake up and play a certain kind of music. I like Begim Selegu, jazz, piano, and some other vibes that have a certain BMP, that have a certain frequency that just takes me to a better state of dreaming. And I do the very same thing in the morning. So it's all part, for me, I'm doing it for health, but for my mental health, but I'm also doing it as part of Bungaza, or to give thanks to the goddess called Het Heru. I was going to say that I was going to read a whole passage about her, but I don't think we have enough time to read the whole passage. I will share it on our Facebook and our WhatsApp. But I just wanted to close by saying this part also. In addition to music, the importance of how can I put it? Of ritual, of creating a ritual around yourself. That the fact that every single day we have a lot of rituals that we do for survival, the kind of work that we have to do, the things that we have to do, maybe for the family, they are all part of the ritual. But if every day it can enhance both our sexual and mental health to have really positive rituals, because Het Heru is about ritual. She's one of the oldest goddesses, and being one of the oldest goddesses, her rituals are very intense, and they all have to do with vibration. They have to do with movement, they have to do with dance, and they also have to do with meditation. So I wanted to add that and ask Nkosi to please tell us a little bit about Het Heru and Oshun, maybe the similarities between Oshun, because we used an image of Oshun on our poster.
I think we did go into this, Kulu, a bit in the previous session, because Oshun is the god. She's fertility. She's about sensuality. Although we were discussing sexual health, the theme for us was sexual health, but Oshun also, she's about sensuality. And I think we may have neglected it at the beginning of the session to differentiate between sex and sensuality, because sex is a component of sensuality. Because sensuality also encompasses your intimacy, parts of it, your love, it's an expression actually in some way, and she is almost all the qualities of just wanna I made a note about this when I was comparing them. I might explaining the qualities of umama and then I'll explain Oshun. Is Menzi still there?
You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Oh my God. I'm saying that I did not hear her. She said she was writing notes. She did some notes on comparing Oshun with Het Heru. That's all I heard. But then she disappeared. I'm not sure. But whether everybody heard the rest of what she said.
No, Oshun, sorry, I was actually taking out my notes. So she's the goddess of love, sensuality, fertility, and also purity at the same time, and if she's also the goddess of vanity as well. And for me, when we're within Isis and Yaga, what's this? Het Heru, you can't help it. I call it the silly season, because this is the season where you're actually allowed to indulge on alcohol, you're allowed to indulge on dancing and being happy and celebrating and you when they say vanity, unobuhle, as umkhulu ashilo uheteru unobuhle, vanity, you know. Oshun is like, she's about that vanity, like being pretty and looking nice, and like all these other things that we're told that have nothing to do with spirituality. Hey guys, spirituality sometimes it's for you to be able to connect better. Sometimes you know, be vain and do all other things, you know. There's growth in that, you know. And Mother, great Mother reminds us of that, and so does Oshun.
That's beautiful. For me, that's part of the beauty of, for me, that is the beauty of African spirituality. And I have to mention that in pop culture, especially with our African American brothers and UK, they basically, they are recapturing, there's a renaissance of African spirituality, but it is coming through with what we call black aesthetics, black beauty, things celebrating our beautiful selves, basically, and not being apologetic, basically, about the things that are beautiful about us. So this is the season for that. I just wanted to remind us that this is the season for that. And it does not mean that the season must end only now. If you look at the Kemetic and Northeastern deities or the Neteru, they are so well presented. None of them are like really ugly looking. I have to put it that way. Besides, even Set, the one who's supposed to be the enemy of his beautiful brother Osa, he may have a very scary face, but the presentation, his weapon, everything about him is very much orderly. So we know we may live in a world of chaos, but as the old expression says, out of chaos comes order. So this is Ikhambi's reminder that even though we live in the midst of a lot of chaos, it's important to celebrate the beauty that we carry as Africans and Heteru to study. If you actually, I would actually recommend that those who have not actually had time to even Google or go to YouTube and study the things that are being said about Heteru, you will find so many resonances about yourself. You know, you will find, and earlier also I said, since we are here in the South, I mentioned that I call it Nomhoi. Nomhoi is part of the 7, how could I say? They are called, Mesizulu say, is it Menzi? Menzi being one of the great names of the creator God in Nguni, amongst the Nguni people. Not Menzi as a personal name like someone, just Menzi. So one of the 7 attributes of Menzi is Nomhoi. So there's 4 attributes. 4 of them are female. Nomkubulwane, Nomhoi, Ma, and Nomdende, I think is the other one. But Nomhoi is the one who is really focused amongst the 7 attributes of Menzi. Nomhoi is the one who is about, as Ukoko said, about vanity, about staying forever young, keeping a man to psychologically, to feel young psychologically, to feel ever fresh, ever green, right? And she has a lot to do with water, cleanliness, crystals, makeup, dance, music, aphrodisiacs, intoxicants of all kinds. So Nomhoi is that, but she's also about respecting your body, respecting your mind, and respecting that of others. I just wanted to add that is part of the old Zulu principles. Nguni, I must say.
You know, I like what you just said. When we speak about makeup, you know, a lot of, when I started in my spiritual journey, I first started off in the Rasta culture. And before I like understanding myself, it was way back, I think it was around 2007. And there was this whole debate about makeup being a Western culture thing. And yeah, because I've always been a person who tries to makeup. I don't want to lie, from dal. I think I've got a bit of heteru within myself.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of unlearning that you need to do. The ignorance that certain things are from the West. We end up throwing away the baby with the bathwater. when we know that
you might end up rejecting yourself in the process, you know? And for me, I really had to stand my stance. And that's when I actually did a lot of research that Africans actually invented makeup. Makeup has always been part of our culture. And when we think about makeup, we shouldn't think about it from the foundation, powder, eyeliner, and you know, I'm looking at the Xhosa women, how they decorate their faces. And makeup is not just for women only, even men, you know, it's just that they wear it differently from how women usually wear it, you know. It has that masculinity in it, how men would wear makeup. It has that masculinity in it. I've seen how even the tribal tattoos that they would that they would have, you know, it's all part of vanity and making yourself beautiful. And this is why sometimes when people say no, tattoos are like a Western thing, guys, do your research, do your history. You will understand some of these things have always been part of our culture, and sometimes they represent a rite of passage, you know, how you decorate yourself, your face, and how you wear the beads that you wear, you know, to make yourself look pretty. They tell where you are in terms of your maturity. Intombi masiqomile izogqoka ucu, in terms of the Zulu culture, you know, izogqoka ucu. And you know, those are the things that when I think of Heteru, like, it's just pretty, guys. It's just pretty.
On top of that, Gogo, one more thing, NJ, and I would like maybe some people want to say anything before we close. There is it's important, especially about this topic that we are discussing now. Sex education has always been part of African culture also. It was not only done at the ritual level of, let's say, so-called the initiation school, where the men have to go to the mountain or the women have to go to Yogona Ikhigiza. There's a word called Ikhigiza in Zulu. It basically means an older sister who's unmarried. The older sister who's unmarried does not mean that she has not been sexually active. A lot of the time, she's either sexually active or she knows a lot about sex, even though she may not be active or she may be active. So there are certain, you know, I read this book called Kusajiwa Moludala, which is a very Zulu book dealing with pre-colonial Zulu culture. It is so elaborate about the various levels of sex education for young people, especially the girls. And it explains to you, that's why you see how important and how precious the girl child is in Africa. But we have unlearned that. And most of the time you find people who call themselves traditionalists. I don't like traditionalists, I'll be honest with you. I do traditional stuff myself, but there's a whole lot of traditionalists who are very backward. They'll say, sex education, this sex education in the schools, they're teaching our children to be promiscuous. Yet at their homes, they're not teaching their child, their 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old, anything to do with their bodies, anything to do with their, you know, anything. So it is important to rekindle the kind of sex education that is holistic, that is very African, that focuses on the whole body, not just on the organs. So that's how I conclude today. But Ukoko can say something, and maybe our community can also add something.
It's weird because when you talked about Ngudala, we haven't touched on the issue of Uksoma and
There's
all
so
these
much,
other, so much more. And that's why I said to Wanga that I think we might be here the whole day if we try to touch on everything. We might be here the whole day. Uksoma, I'm not sure in other languages what it's called, but it's actually sex without penetration. And I think, was it Anita who alluded to that the problem is that we always think of intimacy as having like actual intercourse, but you can have the pleasure, that high, without actually the actual penetration. And during the olden days, teenagers who have raging hormones, they were encouraged to rather opt for uksoma as opposed to penetration in intercourse.
True. I'm done. I've said enough.
Are there any other questions or somebody who maybe wants to add something before we close the session?
Yes, any comments, any thing that you would like us to discuss, maybe because this topic is only going to end on the 23rd or 22nd, we will be having, Wanga is still coming through, but anything that you would like her to deal with. Can you give her her profile, what she does? You can speak about her profile, what she does.
Wanga is from, she's the founder of the
English.
English. Just give me a second. So Wanga is the founder of Womb Wellness Institute. And so we will be sharing her details there. And so Wanga is like, guys, she has done a lot of health, and part of her journey was influenced based on her own personal experiences. I think if you want to hear more about her own journey, please do catch last year's session about what was the title, where we spoke about fertility and womb wellness.
Last year?
Yes, it was last year. Yeah, womb wellness.
The name of the session, but it's there it's on our YouTube. People can just
it's on our YouTube. Right. Yes, it's on our YouTube channel. But when she spoke, she also shared her own personal journey in terms of what influenced her to reach where she is right now, and also establishing the Womb Wellness Institute. And so how she explains it is that until she started looking at her body holistically, she only thought of incidences in isolation, where you would find that if you're saying that you've got fibroids, and then you're treating the fibroids in isolation, and then you have other underlying diseases, and then you're treating those diseases in isolation. But hang on, isn't it that this one is causing this one to happen? And if you're not looking at your body as a whole, you might be missing something, and you might be treating something that is actually not the problem, and so that's Wanga. And if you want to know details about, please do go back to our channel and check out this session about womb wellness. She does that very, very nicely. She explains who she is and what she does quite nicely there. With that being said, please do catch us on our socials. Our social media handles is Ikhambi Natural Healing on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So this video will only be uploaded on YouTube, as you have an option of putting an age restriction. We have opted not to upload this on Facebook, as you cannot limit the in terms of age restriction there when you go live there. So you won't find this video on our Facebook page at all, because it needs to be restricted. And then, Tsamaku, enjoy the rest of, if there's no other questions, Tsamaku, if you want to join the pre-recording session with Wanga, please drop us on our socials, drop us your email address, and we will add you onto the meeting invite. It will be at night, midweek. We just need to confirm the time with Wanga.
Yeah, we'll confirm.
Yes.
Thank you so much for a nice session. I had forgotten season Ikhambihealing. And I haven't been much on social medias, but there is a page that I was gravitating towards, a Facebook that is very aligned to a conversation in Namhlanje. And there's a few things I'll share on the group from what I've found that's just of resonance from today's session. So thank you, guys. And also, I wanted to ask, can all of the literature that you were referring to, Menzi, Nelly, in terms of the traditional approach, understanding, communication of sexuality, any that we come across, please share it. Because,
all right, so
wow.
I'll share it on the WhatsApp and on Facebook.
Yes,
I'll share the title, and I'll guide you somehow where you can find it, because not all these books, like for example, I find some books only in KZN. There are certain things that I can only find KZN. Exclusive books is exclusive for some people. It's not exclusive for us.
Got you. Yes,
I'm
of
telling you
course
that
not.
for sure.
Of course not.
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of things that you cannot find in those bookshops.
Of course
So
not.
I would
Yeah.
kind of try and direct you to where you can find it in KZN.
That would be
and
great.
elsewhere.
Yes. And yeah,
So-
and we'll look for, because I know the Basotho have also got beautiful practices. So
Yes.
yeah, just to revisit that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Tamaku. With that being said, the last word I want to leave you guys is that partners who are more intimate with each other or who are more sensual with each other stay together much longer. So, mababambu umuntu wakho, ubomvusa futhi makalele. Love and light. Love and light, beloveds.
Love.